Hello and welcome to Draft to Digital's Self-Publishing Insiders, the final show of 2025. And this show is coming out to you on Christmas Day. That is December 25th, 2025 at 1 o'clock Eastern, which is our standard regular weekly broadcast that takes place on Thursday. Now, this is a pre-recorded episode, and one of the reasons for pre-recording it is this episode is a clip of highlights. As the final episode of 2025, we thought we would highlight some of the amazing content, some of the amazing conversations and insights and phenomenal guests that we've had throughout the past year on the Self-Publishing Insiders. Now, this show is regularly hosted by Jim Azevedo, but there are regular appearances from so many other folks from the Draft to Digital team. And in these highlights, you're going to see some of those members of the Draft to Digital team who occasionally make an appearance. I get to make the occasional appearance as the guest interviewer when Jim is not there. Alexi is also one of our guest interviewers who regularly appears, but there's so many other folks from the Draft to Digital team that you get to see on the Self-Publishing Insiders. Now, this is a highlight clip show, so it's not possible to include all of the amazing content. This is just sort of a highlight of some of the amazing content that you get to see here every single week. Now, before I roll the clips, and the clips are going to roll one into another, I've done my best to pluck out clips based on conversations I've had with various folks in the Draft to Digital team who said, oh, what about this conversation with so-and-so? That was really cool. And when they said this, so what I did my very best to go through as many of those episodes as I could to clip out some of the content and then actually include, I thought it would be fun to include some a highlight reel, including the transcribe, that's what it's called, the transcriptions of some of the things that were said, just to spotlight and highlight some of the amazingness of the fantastic guests that we have and our phenomenal host, Jim Azevedo, right here at Self-Publishing Insiders. So, without further ado, here are some of the clips. And I'm going to sip some of my coffee and eggnog here while I enjoy some of these amazing highlights of stuff that we've talked about here on Self-Publishing Insiders with Draft to Digital in the past year.
And so, your role as an author is more critical to the future of humanity than ever before. When I look around the world, I look at the political dysfunction.
Yeah.
I look at the division, especially here in the United States, neighbor on neighbor. It's almost like a cold civil war. It feels like the world is upside down. And I think in this environment, I'm a naturally optimistic person. I think we're going to get through this. I think most of humanity is good and honest and wants to do good things in the world. I think in this environment, books are more important than ever before. And so, your role as an author is more critical to the future of humanity than ever before. And just remember that. But I think if you just focus on pleasing your reader with the best book possible, I think that's your best marketing ever. But I think if you focus on just writing the best book in the world that you can write, pleasing your reader, your book will spread, your book will sell on the wings of reader word of mouth. That will never change. Because you can have the best marketing in the world, and yeah, you can fool a bunch of readers to buy your book, but if they don't love your book, if they're not giving you 5-star reviews, if they're not raving about your book online to their friends and family, your book's not going to have any legs to it. Like Dale says, or focused long term. That's just so important, Dale. You need to have a long-term focus. You are building a business here, and take that long-term focus, please your readers, and your dreams, and persevere, and your dreams will be realized.
So the last one, which was number 4, now it'll be number 5, is that marketing can't sell a bad product. So a lot of times authors go to the sexy stuff. And the sexy stuff is like how to sell 10,000 copies of your book and how to grow an audience of 1 million readers and blah, blah, blah. You know, how to get reviews and how to do this. And there's so much great education in the marketing and advertising front and business front. But a lot of times, and I see it, InkersCon, we have 4 main areas: craft, the writing classes, we have business, we have marketing, we have advertising. Craft classes are the least watched classes. It doesn't matter if they are the greatest classes in the world. Craft classes are the least watched because authors love, I mean, what do we want? Like, we all want, you know, millions of readers, and we want, you know, we want our books.
And you hear about authors at conferences who say, well, we want more craft classes.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. They go, which I understand. Like, it doesn't mean that you hate writing or you hate whatever else, but you want your stories to be read. Like, I wrote this book. I want it to be read by somebody. So I always say, you know, don't forget craft, because you can write a great story, and if it is written well and packaged well, it will find readers and it will be successful. But you can also, if you have a bad product, you can put a lot of money into it and you can get initial sales, but you're going to get bad reviews. You're not going to have read through, you know, those readers aren't going to go and buy your other books. And there's not going to be any, like, you know, organic word of mouth on that book. So really, if you only have money or time to focus on one thing, focus on writing the best book you can and learning as much as you can about how to improve the writing process. And a past InkersCon speaker, Kyla Stone, she writes apocalyptic fiction, female-led. She said something that I loved. And every time after she finishes writing a book, she reads a book on craft. And so she reads a book on craft every time she finishes writing a book. And I just love that. Like, I love that practice. Like, it's a good, like, palate cleanser, you know, while she's waiting on edits back from her editor, she reads a craft book. And I just love kind of that dedication and focus to her craft. So
you've got yourself to a point where, you know, somebody from the trad side told you, I mean, and this is not disrespectful, but they told you that, hey, you know, the dragon thing is it's been played out. So we don't think this is going to be marketable. And you're like, you have now armed yourself with the experience and the knowledge, and not to mention this community around you, to have the confidence to say, I'm not buying that. Like, I don't believe that. I know that there's an audience there because I'm interacting with them every single day, which I believe is the superpower of indies out there, because no one's closer to their audiences than people like you, Ed, who are just have this intimate connection with their readers. So I just think that that's an important point, and I want to make sure that our viewers out there caught that.
Yeah, and like, the fact is, like, I know people are looking for it because I was looking for it. I was looking for this story, and whenever I was we first started reading and everything, and I started, you know, becoming a book talker and making my own content and stuff, like, that's whenever I kind of had learned. I was confused. I was like, why are all these books that I'm adding on my TBR, that I'm seeing on TikTok, I'm seeing on Instagram, and I'm saving them, but then I go to the store and they're not there? I didn't understand, because I was still a baby whenever it came to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I just learned that, okay, like, a lot of these books that these readers are loving, they're self-published. And that's why they're not at Barnes & Noble or Target and Walmart. And that was always in the back of my mind too. I was like, there's this gap between what the publishing industry thinks readers want versus what this huge community on Book Talk and Instagram, what the readers really want. There's this gap.
I'm so glad you're saying this right now.
Yeah, because the way that this community has really driven the publishing industry, especially the last 5 years. I mean, look at all these amazing books they start off indie. And because people love them so much, they end up getting picked up trad.
Yeah.
Because these authors have a story but you know, they can't get somebody else to do it for them, so they do it themselves. Well, turns out this is a story that people fall in love with.
I
have been given that advice at the start of my publishing career, and the longer I'm involved, the more I'm like, it's impossible. Only someone who isn't queer can give you that advice, because as a queer woman, my entire existence is already political. My books are political, even though I'm not consciously talking about politics, but yeah, I've been called too queer, and yeah, it's impossible to leave it entirely out when all the politics influence our lives so much. And yeah, I mean, I try to keep my social media positive, like not contribute too much to all the doom scrolling that is going on, but sometimes you just have to speak up if you see something that is just not right, not going in the right direction. And yeah, to anyone who says to keep politics out of writing is clearly not a part of the queer community.
I mean, what do you think the event says about the growing visibility and demand, especially? That's what I'm hearing from both of you, the demand for diverse voices in romance publishing.
Oh, wow. I'll let Megan go.
Okay. Well, at Drive to Digital, I'm the promotions coordinator. I always have my eye out because I see the lag. I am the lag. That's what made me start to my journey as being an author. I love the books. I always had to imagine myself. Well, if I write it, I don't have to imagine anything. I created the world, and then I was able to find other authors. And so I don't think it's so much so that there's a demand now. The demand has always been there. Is that people weren't listening. Mm-hmm. People didn't see the value in having diverse covers and having editors that knew how the different nuances of language that are within a certain community. We're widely ignored. Diverse voices overall are widely ignored. Even the ones that have traditional contracts in publishing, their books aren't put out on the front tables. And so it's a constant battle that we're fighting against. And it's rewarding when you can win.
It's more like, okay, we're business people. How do we get books into the hands of readers and make some money together? And that's how I look at it. I'm like, yeah, I'll do this foreign rights deal. Let's make some money together. That's kind of my attitude. But as Mark said, it's being in charge of your career. You can do traditional publishing with an independent mindset, and you know what you're signing. You understand your contractual clauses. If you license in North America, you self-publish everywhere else. It's this empowerment of the indie community that I think is so important, and all of us spend time trying to educate authors around that. Your intellectual property assets have value. So when you sign contracts, and of course people are signing a contract when they upload their book to Draft to Digital, that is as much a contract as a traditional publishing contract. So everyone needs to be aware of what they're signing, what they're uploading. But this is the empowerment of indie. So yeah, I say go out, make deals with TradPub. If you're happy with the terms, and be ready to negotiate those terms, because as we all know, our intellectual property assets are valuable.
And I want to bring up this question, which I think you kind of just answered, from Beth Cox, who asked, do you think trad publishers are a little threatened by indie authors now? And part of what you were saying, Joanna, was like, look, you guys are empowered now. You can do whatever you want with your rights. And all four of us probably know authors personally that we've seen get picked up by traditional publishers, and maybe decided, by book 3 that they wanted to come back to self-publish because they had more flexibility, they had more control, and it turned out to be more lucrative to them as well. But I think the bottom line is you can do whatever you like now.
But there were so many people who didn't like the title because they thought that they're like, but quitting is a bad thing. And this is one of my absolute catchphrase moments, is quitting is the best thing you can do for your career. Because if you try to do everything that everybody tells you to do and you never stop doing any of it, then you're going to spend a ton of time doing stuff that's completely useless for you, especially if you never allow yourself to narrow. But what I'm never trying to do is to encourage people to quit writing. That's not that's definitely not my goal. And I think that's what people thought I was talking.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, the first time I came across the title, I was kind of like, yeah, because I remember being stuck in a corporate job that I absolutely hated. It was soul sucking. And I finally resigned from it. And it was like, at the time, it was the most terrifying thing, but it was also the best thing. And so I kind of thought that that's what you were inferring by reading the title. And it turns out I may have been right.
Yeah. I want people to quit the things that don't serve them. Right. And like, I want that to be the methodology that we use to identify what's worth us doing and what isn't. And I know, like, I'm seeing some of the questions float by, and one of the questions was sort of like, you know, what do I do to get more of this thing if I'm doing this? And I'm sometimes my answer to that, not saying it is to this person, but sometimes my answer to that is don't do anything different from what you're doing. Just have patience that if you continue to find the people who like your stuff, that and you continue to write books, that you'll continue to grow. Because so often what we do is we get nervous that it's not growing fast enough. And then we look around at what everyone else is doing and we try to add everything, right? It's like, let me just keep adding stuff because I'm so worried that if I don't sell right now, there's something wrong with me not selling. When the reality is, if you look at the veteran perspective, right? The people who've been in this for a long time, everybody who's been doing this for forever understands, like, it is so patient required. Like, it requires you to be okay letting things grow slowly. And if you release a book and it doesn't go the way that you want it to allow it to be that way and move on and write the next book and then focus on trying to promote the next book differently. But there isn't always a way that we can like fix a past sales record the way that I think a lot of people would prefer that we could. And that feels really uncomfortable. So sometimes my advice is, don't do anything different. Write the next book and do something different on the next launch rather than trying to do something different promoting the stuff that's currently available. But that, again, is hard for some of us to internalize.
No, this is such a perfect conversation, but something that you just said that I don't want to miss it, and I don't want our viewers to miss, and that's about when you write that book and you can just feel it into the depths of your soul, like, this is the one. And maybe that's the book that you're shopping to traditional publishers out there, and they've rejected it. Or maybe that's the book that you self-published and you've been self-publishing for a while and it still didn't resonate with readers. What do you say to those readers who, like, they're just right there, Steph, they're just right there on the edge of just breaking out, they could feel it, but then that wind just gets taken out of their sails, or that drive just gets extinguished because someone told them no. It didn't take off like they expected, and they want to quit so badly.
Yeah, I want to give them a big hug. Like, it's okay. It's totally okay to have a bit of a pity party and go, you know, it's not fair. Like, this is supposed to be my champion book. It's supposed to be, you know, the one that. And it just didn't. And I don't understand. It's okay, you know, it's okay to wallow for a little bit. And then I think you have to realize you have to pick yourself up and remember a couple of things. The first thing is that this is not writing and publishing is it's a long game. It's a long career. Most of us are not making if we're making a full-time living, we're not making our full-time living off of one book. We're making a living off of a collection of books and a collection of projects that we, and different kind of income streams that we have. So we're bringing in a lot of income from a lot of different places and a lot of different books. So just because it's not this book doesn't mean that it's not that book doesn't form part of your picture. So don't give up on a book if the launch doesn't go very well, because that book has a shelf life of forever. And it's just like we said, it's a don't quit before the miracle.
Yes.
And the miracle is not necessarily the launch of the book.
Have you seen the festival create opportunities for authors or emerging authors, whether through connections, exposures, or even readership that might
Yes.
not have existed otherwise? So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So, and this, I just found this out a few weeks ago, and I actually just talked to her last night, to where an author, she sent me a note on Instagram, a video or an audio note, and she was like, "Hey," she's like, "I didn't know if you were aware, but I just want to let you know that I met this agent at BRDF, and I'm now signed to her." And she's just like being very like encouraging and letting me know, like, "Hey, this event was something special." And it created opportunities. And so like it meant so much to me that she had said that, and to know that she was able to make this connection. But that also happened with so many other authors, to where we partnered with Black Odyssey Media, to where they were allowing manuscripts to be submitted to them for consideration if you were one of the attending authors. Honey Blossom Press, they did pitch sessions and working with authors. So making sure that this was not just a reader focused event, that there were opportunities and pathways for authors to possibly, meet industry executives or have more opportunity, was really important to us. And we're doing that again for 2026. So hearing these things, and we had some authors that came from like the Caribbean or like from overseas. They were so excited because they were like, whoa, people are now like reading more of our stories, and they're on stage with other authors and they're talking about their books. So this was very important to us, to make sure that it's not just the big, well-known people that are there getting opportunities or being highlighted, that it's really everyone that has these opportunities available.
I love it. And it's not just indie focused. You've got people there from the industry, from the traditional side, agents, editors, and you're also teaching authors who are on their way up.
Absolutely. We had some really great writing workshops for aspiring authors and new authors. We had some marketing and PR workshops. So it's really cool to see authors in there, like new, aspiring, but then also established. And everything, you can always grow and improve what you do and what you love. And so it's really cool to have that learning and development aspect incorporated.
I guess the next question then is writers being able to take charge of search beyond a retail sphere, because it could be too finding it on a retailer, finding it in a bookstore, finding it on the author's own direct sales website, as you mentioned earlier. So I guess where does an author start? I guess first is probably understanding by playing with it and doing some very specific searches, right?
Yeah, that's my number one recommendation, is like try to put yourself in the mindset of a reader who's looking for the kind of books that you've written. And that goes for like 100% of your marketing, right? Like that's what I always tell authors when they approach marketing, like don't approach marketing from an author perspective of like pushing your books. Think about like readers, how are they going to come across, your book when they're searching for books like yours? So I don't know if you've written a cozy mystery set in the Southwest with like cat companion, cat sidekick, search for something like very niche, like can you recommend me cat cozy mysteries set in the southern US where the cat helps the strong female protagonist solve a mystery involving magic and werewolves? You can go as niche as you want. And see what kind of books are recommended. Usually, if you do this well, maybe your book's not going to show up, but you should see comps show up, right? You're definitely going to see comps show up. Whether you're aware of those comps or not, that's another story.
Right, but it can help you with comps too, which is great for marketing, right? Yeah,
I've used it a lot. I think it's really good for comps. Even if you plug in your book description and you ask it, find me comps, it's really good. It's still going to hallucinate and like find some irrelevant stuff, but it's pretty good.
All right, and just to be clear, because there may be people watching or listening to this that say comps. What are comps? I know we know this; it's an industry term, but what's a comp? Compensation, right? That's what you mean, right?
Exactly. If only. It's a comp title, so comparable title. So it's what the industry refers to books similar to your book, basically. So I think it's mostly used in traditional publishing, or it was used in traditional publishing, because when you're querying agents or publishers, you need to tell them where your book fits in the market. And the best way to tell them that is like, which books should it be next to on a shelf, right?
Yeah.
Should it be between Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J. Maas, or should it be between Brandon Sanderson and Patrick Rothfuss, basically?
Right.
I wanted to ask you really quick about marketplace.
Sure.
And how to define a marketplace, because there are some authors out there who feel that they should write to market, but that can mean different things to different people. Like some people define, writing to the market, going to where the people are, or giving them what they want. So what do you tell authors when they ask you, hey, should I be writing to market? How do you answer that question?
I think that's the first thing that you need to do is you need to define what do you mean by market. The way that I think about market is it is a place and it is the people. So if I wanted to write horse shifter romance set in space in the Regency era, there's probably not a marketplace for that. There might be like one or two readers who might want to read that, and if I can reach those one or two readers and that's going to make me happy, I have succeeded.
Okay.
Within my heart of hearts, I really want this horse shifter romance set in the Regency era in space to hit New York Times. That's not realistic. So I would need to then find the closest. I need to find the location, and there's not going to be enough people to sustain me for my dream to sell thousands of copies. So I would then need to look and see, okay, shifter. Well, that's paranormal romance, and there's a paranormal shifter category. The people who are reading the paranormal shifter category are more interested in werewolves. They're more interested in dragons. They're more interested in bears. Could my horse be one of those things? Maybe, maybe not. You got to make that decision for yourself. But I know that there's a lot of readers right here who want that. And you have to start making these decisions for yourselves. Like, how much are you willing to compromise? And you don't have to compromise, but you have to make sure that your goals and your passion are in alignment, because if they're not, then you're going to be upset. So yes, the marketplace is a place, and the market are the people. And the closer that you can get that together and closer you can get it to your heart, the more successful you'll be.
And also the fact that at this point, consumers don't care. It is a rare consumer that is going to flip to the copyright page of a book to see who was the publisher. Right? Like, I mean, I can tell you a book I read recently that I loved. I have no idea who published it. It doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter.
Right? But it's like, but the quality has to be there, right? Like, it has to be amazing quality. And that's the great thing, that you can actually be a publisher. You can put on your publisher hat, you can hire a team of professionals, and you can put out something that's indistinguishable in quality from the great stuff that's coming out from the big publishers. And honestly, some of the big publishers put out crappy books too. I mean, they put out some beautiful books, but like, it's like you're building your sort of brand, you're building your sort of thing. And I think that is, that's really exciting.
Yes. And I want to just, if I can underscore one of your points there, Lee, and it's that as authors, as indie publishers, you have something that the big publishers will never have, and that is your unique individuality. Because as Lee just mentioned, those readers, they're not looking for a logo on the spine of that book. They're looking to interact and connect with the author. And if you could engage with your readers, that's just going to set you apart from so many others out there.
And that's actually kind of like just like your voice is your special sauce. And the way that you tell your stories, also you're building a community around the stories, the things you're passionate about. Again, I don't think it's building a community around you. I think it's about building a community about the things that you're passionate about, that you share with other people. Like, I'm really excited about empowering young people and teens, especially with queer history, especially with social justice stories. Like, that's what gets me excited. So rather than it being about me, which feels totally awkward, I try to talk about like the things that I'm excited about. And that's a way that I can connect with my community and my audiences. And I think that works better, at least for me.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
right. And Alexi, what do you think? You're the marketing. Well, you're both marketing, right? Like, it's easier, right, to talk about the thing you're passionate about rather than be like me.
Yeah, no, I feel like there is, especially in the scope of like the kind of big brand publishing, like there's a desire to stay safe, to stay on trends, And like I've certainly heard authors who are like, well, I'll just like write on trend, and like I'll just write what's popular or what I think's gonna sell. And I think honestly, like you're not going to, that's not if it's not the thing you're passionate about, first of all, it's gonna come through in your writing. But secondly, you're gonna burn yourself out as an author. Like no one wants to just write things they're not interested in for their entire career. That's a recipe to kind of crash out as an author sometime down in your career. And like you're not going to be the person who's most equipped to market a book that you're not excited about. So
books are a lot of work, right? I mean, if you're actually doing it. And look, we have to acknowledge there's going to be so much AI slop out there. There's already a lot of crappy books that get published. But so how do you stand out, right? It's going to be like your human endeavor, your special thing that you're bringing to it. And I think that in combination with you building your community, that's really exciting. And also, I'll point out that I know a lot of people personally that already have a platform, and they're choosing to author publish because they're like, why would I give away so much of my money and my rights and my IP to a third party? I want to keep it. And that makes a lot of sense for them.
So why are we talking about libraries in the first place? Why do you see them as such a unique opportunity for indie authors in particular?
I've always said community before book selling is going to make you sell the most books. That's always been my motto and kind of
great motto
platform for Motown Writers Network. And that's the reason the name is Motown, is because it presents a essence that you cannot get anywhere else. And it deals with community, it deals with networking, and knowing that your network is your net worth. Libraries bring a lot to the table. It is, as a indie author, it is hard to get to your reach. You can know your perfect reader, you can know what they do, but the library, 60% of people have library cards. They are tuned into what readers are reading, and they can be the voice that you need in order to reach that reader. I have promoted, and libraries have saved me too, with because there's so much left on the table when it comes to libraries. It's a missed opportunity. And when you're throwing your money at ads, and you're throwing your money at vendoring events, and you're throwing your money at just everything else, you're missing one of the most free opportunities out there that can really take your book to not known to be known. And I think a lot of authors, especially indie authors, need to jump on these opportunities, because it's a lot that they're missing, and we can go through it.
Yeah, let's go through it. I love your quote here. I'm going to steal it and say that I made it up. But when you
TM
Azevedo, your network is your net worth, and that combined with build community first. I mean, we're seeing that more and more and more, especially right now. I feel. I mean, you might be thinking, since you're so successful, Sylvia, that like it's obvious. But I think to a lot of authors who are just coming up, they don't realize that, and I've said this so many times on this show, about how the author's individuality and ability to interact with their readers is like the holy grail of this entire industry. And that's why indies have such an advantage over some other traditional counterparts, because you guys have this ability to really, really connect outside the book.
Yes. So you can, for number one, for libraries, which a lot of authors, and I'm shocked when I know this, a lot of authors don't think of them when they're coming out with a book to host readings or book talks, and even host book club meetings. That they have the space. Number one, you pay taxes and it's free. And you have a built-in audience that you can get in touch with and reel in to that. And a lot of people say, well, when I do events at libraries, well, it'll be a one-time deal and maybe one or two people show up. And I can say, okay, nobody knows you.
So maybe if you keep doing these events and people know who you are, you get the word out. It's just like a rolling snowball. People are going to come because the library's promoting it. You're promoting it. The community's finding out about it. Then the city's finding out about it. Then the county that's finding out about it. And it becomes like something bigger.
And a lot of libraries are connected. They have their own library networks.
They have their own library network,
countywide,
and librarians talk to other librarians. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten a phone call from a library on the other side of the state and says, "Hey, I heard about a workshop you did or a book talk you did. I would love for you to come over here and share it with me." And that is when you get into the money part.
Do you believe we're going to see more celebrities self-published books in 2025 and beyond?
I'll say this, that I do foresee that there's going to be much more celebrities and influencers diving into the indie author space. He did have the influence, he did have the reach, he did have the connections, but he also knew that there was a much better opportunity being an indie author, that he had more control, that he had more revenue, that he was able to just have a product out there that he could be truly proud of. So, but I'm sure that we're going to start to pick up momentum this year and then the years following that. And it's going to be really tough for these trad pub companies to offer them a contract that is going to be suitable for the trad pub company and the author, because the author's going to go, "Oh, well, I stand to lose quite a bit if I come on over to you. So why would I do that?"
Okay.
Well, yeah, the answer is yes. We're going to see more because, if you've got platform, you can be a successful publisher, and celebrities are going to be looking to the traditional publishers who they used to look to and ask, "What can you do for me that I can't do for myself?"
Yeah.
And if the publisher can answer that question affirmatively, then the traditional publisher is going to get the deal, as they should. But I think now that self-publishing is mainstream, it's no longer a pursuit of shame. People don't hide from it anymore. People are proud of it. They wear the indie label on their lapel proudly. This is the future. I mean, we're really moving into an author-controlled future for publishing, and I think that's nothing but great.
Yes. That's a perfect segue into this comment from Angela. And hi, Angela. And I really appreciate it. She asks, how do we figure it out? We find out because of amazing events like this. It's so true. And I think as artists, whether you're a musician or an author, you want to focus on the art because you're so passionate about it. But then at Author Nation, there are sessions like, here's how you create a spreadsheet to help you keep track of your business. And it doesn't have to be intimidating. As a matter of fact, I'm allergic to spreadsheets, but I've attended those sessions and it's like, oh my God, even I can do this. So simple, even you can do it.
Yeah, I think, there's two things to kind of think about with this. One is the collaboration. It's not so much what you hear in a session. It's that conversation that happens after the session that I've observed at NINC and 20 Books and regional events and ours. People they create a new genre, or they create a new series that makes these authors finally find the success they were looking for. So there's that part that is the alchemy of the event. But the other thing is, and something we're very focused on, is bringing in a variety of vendors, bringing in sources from outside of our community. Is how can we help you folks understand what's coming, what you need to be worried about, what kind of tools are there to talk about. And I know there's been an enormous amount of conversations at our show and at past shows online about what's going on with AI. And this year, we have very little focus on it inside the craft. It's all about where it's going with how it can do all the stuff that you hate to do, right? I think this is where one of these things where we got ourselves wrapped around the axle and oh, who cares about who's using it for their craft? The folks that want to be freed of all the other stuff, let us show you how automation might be readily usable for you today in getting rid of stuff that you're probably not even doing at all. Right? Like balancing your checkbook.
So let's talk about how authors can participate, because I'm assuming that there might be some of our viewers out there who are like, well, okay, I want to know about some of these promotions that are coming up from your retail and library partners. How does an author go about finding that out?
Right now, it's a very manual process.
Okay.
So I know some authors was like, well, I looked on my dashboard and I didn't see it. It's not there yet. My hope and desire is that it will be there, because that makes it easier for you, makes it easier for me. So you have to use our form, and that form is twofold. You can use it once to get on the list, which means that you signed up, you agreed to receive these emails, whatever comes up, I send it. Two, you can also use that form to give me your bookish news. Hey, Megan, I just had a new release. I had it on pre-order and I sold 1,000 copies. Give me your bookish news, because I do look at it and I do use it when I'm trying to fill those last minute opportunities that come up. Oh, I have a book that is Dutch or something, which I have had happen. I remembered one of our authors from like my first year, which was 2022, at a conference. She mentioned that she had a Dutch title. I don't get promos asking for Dutch, but an opportunity came up with one of our partners that needed Dutch. So yeah, so use the form. Tell me those things. Even if you don't see a promo for it, use it. I may think of something, or you may suggest something. I'm like, well, I do have enough Dutch authors that I may run something special and see what happens. A lot of my job is let's see what happens. So,
I love that, because that allows us to be creative and be experimental, and maybe push things over the line that we think may not have that great of a chance of succeeding, but actually does.
Yes.
Megan made a point earlier, and I want to reiterate it because I think it's so important, and it ties into exactly what you just said. And I really want to underline this for authors, is those authors who are prepared. Go and fill out the form and tell her about your books, because you may tell her something really intriguing, and serendipity is the most beautiful thing. Like, I'm going to be at the American Library Association conference at the end of June. I'm going to be listening to librarians and probably pinging Megan all the time saying, oh my God, the librarians are interested in this, this, and this. Do you have anything? And Megan will go back to the form and search through it and look for things. So for example, Guillaume, right? Regular Guillaume, who I know writes erotic comedy and the French language, I'm assuming. So if, Biblio, one of our partners in France, who's maybe looking for erotic comedy for a special feature, and we're like, oh my God. And like, who wrote that? Because I heard someone mention it during one of our broadcasts. If Guillaume hasn't filled out the form, we may not remember. Like, who was that who wrote that genre? So filling out those forms is really doing yourself a favor, because when Megan's scrambling, this happens all the time. Like earlier this week, we got a request from Overdrive for something very specific where we have to reach out to authors, and that doesn't come out in a form, but it does come out because maybe somebody filled out a form and told us about something they wrote, and then that contracted. So basically doing that work yourself does help us help you. And it may not help right away, but it's beautiful when it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
I'll bring up a question from one of our own Lexi Green asks, what do you think is the biggest way the industry has changed over the last 10 years?
Ooh, that's a big one. Okay, so
That's a big one.
2015. I mean, something I've been talking about a lot lately, especially in the last couple years, which doesn't stretch back 10, but I do feel like it's a big difference and something that's been building over time.
Okay.
How traditional publishers are partnering with self-publishing authors. And so I can name probably a dozen authors right now that within the past 2 years have partnered with like Source Books or with the Big Five to get their print work out into, retail channels or for foreign rights or international distribution of some kind. We've seen the growth also of publishers outside of the Big Five that are really adept at working with independent authors, like Podium is one example, and they're not alone. There are others like them. And, when I started in the industry, not only was there a stigma associated with self-publishing, but it was really hard for self-publishing authors to cross over into traditional, much less do both traditional and self-publish at the same time. That is becoming more and more accepted and common and smart for the author to like hang on to some portion of their digital rights and then give, license effectively the print distribution or print rights to to a traditional publisher who has that domain mastered. It's so fascinating to me and such a big change, because when I look at, let's say, who the top 50 best-selling romance authors right now in the independent space, I guarantee you 90 to 95% of them have a literary agent, even though I would primarily consider them an independent author. Now, why do they have an agent? Because they want someone to facilitate rights sales and subsidiary rights and all the rest of it.
That's a great comment. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And you also have literary agents who specialize just in that for indie authors. So for me, it is one of the best good news stories for authors since I've been in the business.
Well, that's it for this clip episode, this highlight of 2025 episodes that we've brought to you right here from the team at Draft to Digital to your home. Let's hope that some of these clips and some of the content that we've produced over the past year has been useful to you as you take this information in and you adapt it in ways that can be useful for your own author journey. Now, on behalf of the Draft to Digital team, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre, wishing you and yours a fantastic holiday season. Let's hope that 2025 was good to you and your writer journey, and wishing you all the best in the coming new year. Speaking of the new year, I will be back again as a guest host on New Year's Day, and we'll be talking about some of the strategies, potentially some of the things that we often think about as writers as we roll into a new year with new plans and new opportunities. So, again, this is Mark Leslie Lefebvre on behalf of Draft to Digital, reminding you to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this episode or any of the episodes that you found right here on Self-Publishing Insiders, or any of the amazing content we have on our YouTube channel. And we'll see you again every week at 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays for Draft to Digital's Self-Publishing Insiders. Here's to a very happy new year to you and yours.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at drafttodigital.com.